that can actually be frustrating if you have a project lead for an off-grid camp being powered off diesel, because you look at their electric bills and you say, my goodness, you're spending so much money. There's no way that solar, which provides remote on-site power, would not be cost effective in this situation. But you're up against this reliability issue. Is solar reliable? Yeah, solar's reliable. The sun can be relied upon to come up most of the time. If you have a really large solar array and a really large battery bank, the system should be very stable. But that is a more critical task when you're doing off-grid, and that's an even more critical task when you're doing off-grid for commercial and industrial applications. And that's why these customers are spending so much money on the cost of diesel. Is not because diesel's cheap or diesel electricity is cheap. It's because it's the reliability point. So, selling them a more expensive, less reliable system is not the best solution. So solar will market itself as reliable, and it is reliable. It can be more reliable than the electric grid, but that also depends on the system. And generally, when you're designing for reliability, you're not designing for cost effectiveness. Diesel generators are portable. Solar arrays can be portable too, but that's where you might need some more design expertise, and that can be a nice niche for particularly handy solar designers to design systems for portable camps that can be loaded up and unloaded with relative ease. Solar can compact down pretty hard. It might be using those compact ballasted systems for flat roofs that stack up real nice, like Files was SolarZilla that makes them. Solar can be pretty portable, and there's even smaller markets. Being the guy who takes one solar panel, one charge controller, and a ultra durable weatherproof box with a battery, and uses that to power a remote telecommunication system. That's great, and that's always been a market, and that always will be a market in these specialty applications. So what I want to talk about is the specialty application for diesel generator camps, because there's actually a low-hanging fruit opportunity. If you come across a off-grid diesel camp, you can put a very small amount of solar onto the off-grid diesel camp without interrupting its business. That is pure, what's your cost to run your generators? Solar produces this many kilowatt hours. You're going to save this much per year. It's simple. You're going to get your payback. Now, that is like residential solar with net metering. Now, there's no batteries. There's no intelligence. Well, think about it. With residential solar being less than 1% of the of the grid is consumer rooftop solar, and so the grid by and large does not have to worry about all these individual systems pumping electricity back into the grid. But when every single home and building on the block gets solar, it does become a problem. And you get into regulations about buyback rates and curtailment and new standards. And so that same philosophy applies to generators. You can put solar power combined with generator power, but you have to be concerned when you start backflowing the generator. And for that matter, when you start impeding the use of the generator. These diesel generators need to have some time frames where they're running at full throttle. And so, solar array that produces, half of the camp's electricity, may start getting into an issue where the generator doesn't run as long as it needs to. And while, SMA's intelligent controller can say, okay, well, we'll just schedule it in. We'll have some times when the diesels are running full blast for good maintenance, and then we'll have, other times when the solar array is taking over. You don't have to have that level of coordination if the solar array production is very small, maybe 10% of the total camp's electricity coming from solar is the maximum size you would do without any sort of energy management. And while 10% is very small, these camps are very large. And so, a good starting point for an off-grid diesel camp might be, well, let's buy a pallet or two of solar, see if it works fine, and install, more advanced energy monitoring so that we can right size a total camp conversion as the next phase. And so what that does is it gets you quickly to the market. You find a lead who has an off-grid diesel camp, you can sell them a small solar array and just wire it up like you normally would a residential system. Medium penetration where the solar array is much larger and starts supplying more of the camp, that can actually be less cost effective, a longer payback than the easier solution. And the reason is you have to buy all that infrastructure. You have to buy additional switchgear, additional batteries, additional solar. And by the time you're buying all that, you might as well try and scale up and do the whole entire camp and just have the generator set be there as backup. And that will be more cost effective with a shorter payback than doing kind of a halfway measure, although it's going to require a lot of budget and be very expensive. And so starting small and then planning for something larger after you've proven it to the facility owner may be a better tactic, considering that solar array and battery system to run an entire off-grid camp is going to cost hundreds of thousands, if not $1 million or more, and still be looking at a longish, in terms of 7, 8, 9 year payback, which many facility owners are uncomfortable with paying for. They want the payback to be something earlier than that.